Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our Dear Leader call-in, where we're going to be looking at some of the stuff that's taken place in Zimbabwe over the last few months. As we all know, today is day 79 of His Excellency, Mr. Mnangagwa's tenure as President of Zimbabwe. He was inaugurated on the 24th of November 2018. So we'd like to talk about how well he's doing. What has his tenure meant for our daily lives? Do we have more freedom, more fairness, more opportunity? And some of the talking points that we'd like to touch on tonight include the economy, obviously. Do we now have cash in the banks? Do we have promise of foreign direct investment? Does it look like our economy is going to start firing again? We're going to look at the democratic space. Are people able to assemble again? I think we all saw that, the Utai Zamara commemoration took place. We had the wetlands demonstration that seems to have taken place. But at the same time, we had the Mtwakazi protests in Bulawayo where there seems to have been a problem. So how do we feel about what the democratic space in this country looks like right now? We can also talk about corruption. Now, we have heard the President in the State of the Nation address and in his inauguration speech talking about how he's going to go tough on corruption. We've seen a lot of G40 members being prosecuted, but we've also seen some action being taken against the VID. But at the same time, you have some cabinet ministers who are known to be corrupt or against whom strong allegations of corruption have been made, and yet very little action has been taken. We also know that we no longer have roadblocks. How do we feel about that? Does that augur well for us here in Zimbabwe? Is that some realistic change that has come about? And then we also have our socio-economic rights, health, education. Recently this week we saw how, ZimSec botched up very badly with students' examinations. We know that there's a court case coming out, going to be argued this week, that's been brought by Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, that's challenging the action by the Minister of Education for students to write the English Paper 2 O-level exam again. How do we feel about that? Are health and education on the right track? Then there's obviously the grand question of election. That. Do we feel like they're going to be free and fair? Are we happy about the new appointment of the ZEC chairperson? Are we happy about how the voter registration process took place? What's been done about those who take and intimidate potential voters with respect to their voting slips? But you've also heard President Emmerson Mnangagwa talk about how UN observers are going to be allowed to come in, the EU is going to be allowed to come in, the AU. So how do we feel about that? Is there progress? On the question of the democratic space, we've got the big question of POSA and IPA, which still remain in place. Are they hindering us? Are they helping us? Is there a plan by the president to repeal those laws? The Indigenization Act as well. We know that the president has said that for the most part, the indigenization policy has been suspended, as it were, and yet the law still stays in place. How do we feel about that? And then there's the final question of foreign policy. The president has said that, look, we want to re-engage with the West. How do we feel about that? He went to Davos. Did he do well? That interview where he, for the first time, in a long time, you've got a president of Zimbabwe, being interviewed on very tough questions, including Gukrahundi, the economy, the democratic space. Do we think he fared well? And how do we think this augurs for the future? We've seen, a number of British envoys coming in ever since the president was inaugurated. Does this mean we're on the right path as a country? So please feel free to call in to the number that's on your screen. It's 0777 227 237, and let us know what you think about the new dispensation. Is it new in a true sense? Do we feel more aspirational after, Mr. President Mugabe? We don't even know what to call him anymore. Former president, former His Excellency Mugabe. Ever since that, do we feel like Zimbabwe is on the right track? Now, I know a lot of people say it's just day 79. What do you expect to have changed? But the president himself has said, judge me from day one. That's what he said in Davos. And so we're entitled to judge him, judge his performance from day one. He's had 79 days in office. How are we feeling about that? So please feel free to call in on the number, and we'll take your calls on WhatsApp. WhatsApp's going to be our chief medium at the moment. And I think I'll just set the ball rolling by saying that one thing that has certainly changed in this new dispensation is the fact that we are starting to have conversations about ideas, conversations about policy, conversations about the economy. That definitely is a shift. We ordinarily, in the old Mugabe dispensation, the old dispensation, let's call it that, we weren't really able to have these conversations. So what does that mean for us? Are we on the right track, or is this more of the same? Is this just ZANU-PF with a bit of a facelift? What does it mean for us as Zimbabweans? And obviously this is a conversation that's looking at just the national landscape, how we feel as citizens. Does this new dispensation mean that we've got more money in the bank or not? Does it mean we've got cash coming out of the bank or not? So please feel free to call us. You can also obviously give us your comments on Facebook. We'll be able to read your comments on the Facebook Live. So if you've got any comments to make, you're welcome to make them there as well, and we'll be able to engage with you on that platform. I'm just opening some of the comments here. The number is 0777227 Hopefully we've got that right. Feel free to give us a call. 237. Okay, we've got a caller coming in. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes.
You're live on the show.
Okay, thank you. I'm kind of torn. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. If you could just help us, tell us what your name is and tell us where you're calling from.
Okay, I'm calling you from the United States.
And your name?
My name is Aaron Bell.
Okay, if you could kindly turn off your Facebook Live so that we can hear you. There's a bit of feedback in the background.
Oh, that's right.
Right, that's much better. Go ahead, sir, with your contribution.
All right. Look, I'm kind of, I've never been quite happy with things from November until now. Yes, I see everyone's been very giddy and happy in some cases, I think.
Well, not everyone. There has been some dissent, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but my trepidation lies in the process more than it is in the thing that we could have achieved in 79 days. Number one, I think that if we all wanted a new dispensation, then the first thing we ought to have considered was, okay, what was bad with the old one? What was bad with the old one was the complete control of the state and its resources in one party and one man. That was what was wrong with everything to do with the old. For 37 years, that was the situation. Now, if we want a new dispensation, we have to understand one thing. Governing a nation is not something a single individual can do whichever mind we agree or disagree with them, the idea of bringing people together is, even in negative circumstances, we learn something, we get wisdom out of something. And it's even worse for us, most Zimbabweans, because we think that agreeing with something, with someone vehemently is good. I don't think agreeing with someone necessarily means something is good. It simply means we are following, we're flowing with going with the flow, basically. But we may be missing many things. So today, I think the problem we have is we need to get everybody on the same page. Zimbabwe is for all of us. But Zimbabwe is not perfect. It hasn't been perfect. It may never be perfect. But we will all do everything we can to make it perfect. Which
I
means
see. So
ideas from every corner matter. Right now, as I see, I read something that says Mrs. Mnangagwa resigned their parliamentary portfolio because she wants to concentrate on being a first lady. I think that's a choice only she could make.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we agree that this is an interim government, then I see marks of an even stronger form of dictatorship coming up. Because only one who knows that beyond the election I will still be first lady or I will still be president can make these kinds of decisions.
I see.
So I'm saying I feel that this is a false hope, because what we did was to replace the old dictatorship with a slightly younger one.
Okay.
And that means our pain is going to be prolonged for much, much longer.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. So he believes that nothing has changed. He thinks that, look, we just have a younger president, but in form, it's exactly the same. So please continue to call us with your contributions. And please, can I ask that you make your contributions short so that we can have the maximum number of contributors. Now, just to talk to what this speaker said, he indicated that nothing has changed. Now, would you say that that's a fair assessment, given that, Mr. Mugabe, President Mugabe, as he then was, never used to entertain any sort of thought of engaging the West. Ideologically, he had a strong issue with that, and yet that has changed. Also, the word economy wasn't one that Mugabe used, and yet we seem to be hearing it again. Is that a shift? And then we also see other things like the absence of police on the roads. Is that something that shows us that there's change? Or, like the previous caller, do we believe that these changes are truly superficial in nature and that we need a lot more in order to believe that there's true change on the way? So please feel free to keep calling us and making your contributions known. We're going to turn to the Facebook comments. If you can just bear with me. The comments on Facebook. Right, so we've got Tatenda Tagwire, who says he's watching from SA. He can't comment on much of the issues, but he feels that if we're going to make any progress, we have to change the mentality of the youth. Not all of the youth have a real passion to change the situation on the ground. Bafana varikungo Gaya Jemangoma Chete. The president is not doing anything to change the real bread and butter issues. They go and buy chiefs' cars, yet they struggle to pay for civil servants' salaries. So what Tatenda highlights here is a followership issue, that there's a problem with us as followers, that we can't have great leadership if we as young people especially aren't engaged and only care about things that don't matter. We'll take our next caller. Hello? 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 Okay, we'll try to take that call again. Please make sure you make your contributions brief. Let's not forget to cover all the areas that were indicated, right? Here's another caller. Hello? 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 Okay, we're struggling with that call. We'll wait till the next one comes in. We'll just look at one of the comments. Angela says she doesn't mind ED as president because he is intelligent and has a business mindset. But my ministers, Ake Chete, very old. So ED, I guess, is okay that he surrounded himself by old people. But bear in mind, though, that those ministers are just as old as he is. ED is, you know, not the youngest either. And then Kuziva Maramba says, as an independent candidate, as an MP, who is your presidential candidate? I'm happy to deal with that. And the simple answer is this, that the Be the Change campaign and my run is a parliamentary campaign. We're not going to campaign on behalf of any presidential candidate. We're going to focus only on winning Mount Pleasant constituency for change. So hopefully that takes care of that issue. Right, we've got another caller. Hello? 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 Okay, there's a problem with this caller's number. We can't seem to get them online. But we'll go back to the comments on Facebook. Ashton says, Mount Pleasant has a chance to vote in a really good and engaging MP in you, Fadzayi. Thank you very much. We look forward to your vote. But let's remember that we want to focus today on ED. Are the youth ready? Are young people, as the last caller said, ready to, you know, take up the mantle? Are young people ready to lead? Are young people ready to take up positions in council, as MPs, even as presidential candidates? Are we ready to take on the mantle? And do you think that the environment and part that we're on with President Mnangagwa would facilitate an environment where we are free to do so, where we are free to campaign, where we won't be arrested for protesting? Right, please keep calling on our WhatsApp caller. Right, we'll go back to the comments. And remember that, okay, so Tendai Bright says, this government is not getting replaced, guys. MDC is dead. Independent MPs are cool. But what's the bigger picture? Maimujuru's all over the place. Good luck, though. That's his view. So, okay, the election is one thing, but we'd like to think about also what's going on in the country nationally right now. So before we even get to the election, has ED started to deliver? Rogers believes that what needs to be done right now is an upgrade of our infrastructure. We need to get investment in. We need to monitor how our ministers deliver on the ground. Priorities, priorities. What are those priorities for the ordinary person? I know President Mnangagwa is talking a lot about what, you know, he's going to do for international investors. We haven't heard so much about what he's going to do for us. Whether prices are going to come down, we haven't seen a solution to that problem. We also haven't seen a solution to the cash crisis. And mind you, it's very real, especially for people who are in the rural areas, people who are informal traders. They're struggling to get cash. Even in combis at the moment, you need cash. And so the minute cash needs to be acquired, the minute you need to purchase cash, even to replenish, stock for your business, we definitely do have a problem. Okay, so let's go to some more of our comments here on Facebook. Right, we've got a caller. Hello. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, Fadzayi. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Norway, and my name is Joanna.
Hi, Joanna. Right, go ahead. How do you feel ED is doing at the moment? We're doing a bit of a sentiment analysis this evening. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, sorry, what's the analysis? I missed your first part, maybe, because I just saw the number on Facebook. What's the analysis about?
So the question is, how do you think ED has done so far? We're on day 79.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, but I think this is really key and critical is the young people to be analyzing critically about this whole government, post-Mugabe era. I would like to just highlight that we all know that Mnangagwa, ED has been there even in the Mugabe government, right? So even when we were contesting about the elections all this time, and when when unemployment rate has been increasing and so forth, Mnangagwa was still there in the government. So personally, I feel like there isn't much that has changed. So and all those ministers that are there in the government, they were still the same ministers who are still there. So really, we cannot say there is change that has happened in the Zimbabwean government. There's just a change of faces. So for us to think, Kuti, no, we are not seeing Mapurisa Murodi like what other people have been commenting about, and also Kuti, no, PG has been traveling. She got some relations with other people, like with heads of state. Then we think, Kuti, no, things are changing. This is the same things that even Mugabe has been doing during his time, and also
police on the street. Let's be fair, and now we don't have those.
Sorry?
I said Mugabe had police on the street every single day, within 200 meters of each other. I think most people who are in Zimbabwe will agree on that. And also, if at any point anyone tried to protest in Africa Unity Square, you'd see big tankers, you'd see water cannons, and yet now we see there was a demonstration last week for wetlands. We had Tai Dzamara's commemoration, and there were no police and no tear gas. Would you not say that that is some sort of change? Maybe not enough, maybe not entirely satisfactory for all of us, but it is a bit of a shift. You wouldn't say things are exactly the same, would you?
Yes, Fadzayi, I understand what you are saying, but I've also been in Zim like just a month ago.
Right,
yes,
and how did you find it?
There are no more roadblocks, but can we really judge the performance of the president or the government because of roadblocks? Definitely not, right?
Okay.
Which is fair. There hasn't been roadblocks, that's fine, but we can't really judge. There are other, critical issues that we can be thinking about as young people,
right,
not to focus on roadblocks, for example, right?
So what factors would you say would point to ED being on the right path? What sort of changes would you like to see him implement?
Yeah, firstly, as a young person, I would like to see employment, right? That's the first thing. Then secondly, we want to see independence in terms of our institutions.
Right. We
don't want ED to be the head of everything, like what we've been seeing in our unis. Like, there is a lot of militarization in our campuses. You know that because you spend most of the time at UZ, right? So we don't want that, like ED to be above everybody. Let's have that kind of independence of some bodies, right? So this is what we expect. So for me, roadblocks really, it's a non-issue that we expect from the government, that we expect from the president. Then, as you highlighted about the protest that happened, it was a protest on wetlands. This really doesn't have like a political effect. Like, what can I say? Like, it's different from. We can't really judge about this protest that happened last week, on wetlands, because this is different from the other protests that have been happening in the past about human rights and stuff. Let's have those protests about maybe human rights violation and key issues that we've been addressing all this time, and see with the rights. If we do those kind of protests, what then is going to happen? The direction from the government. But like I have said, ET has been there even in the government, even when Itai Dzamara disappeared, like you're saying, people commemorated, right? But Itai Dzamara disappeared in the eyes of ET as a vice president, right? So I think that's we can't really judge because then we say no, let's give him a team.
That's a very fair point.
Young people, we have key issues to be addressing on.
So you'd like more substantive change. And, one of the stats that, we gathered when we're preparing for the show is to the effect that he did allow, or the police did allow media freedoms demonstration to take place, but they limited it to only 100 people. So I guess what you're driving at is that the change needs to be more substantial. And the true test will really be seen when people start protesting against ED himself, like they did in Bulawayo with Mtwakazi, where they were promptly arrested. So that shows us that although there's been a small shift, the change isn't sufficient. Thank you so much for your contribution. We're going to take our next caller. Please keep calling in and we'll take your views. If you're in Zimbabwe, we'd like to hear from you as well, whether the mood on the ground has actually changed, whether we had too much euphoria in November, and whether we feel like our dreams, our hopes were a bit too optimistic, or whether we feel generally that we've got, you know, some sort of hope. Someone is posting hashtag ED has my vote. He's the only person who's organized at the moment. So for him, I suppose that it's all going well. We'll take our next caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead with your contribution.
I would like to contribute. I think we as Zimbabweans, we need to give ED a chance at the moment, and as a citizen, we must contribute positively, because at the moment there's a lot of negative criticism, of which I don't think it will help us as Zimbabweans. We need to be positive. Let us give them a chance. And
so I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you. You say that everybody must be positive. What if they're not feeling positive about the situation? What if they're actually feeling quite concerned at the fact that prices are going up? Should they just be forced to be positive just because it's ED? Is it not that culture that landed us with someone like Mugabe, where we just say, look, let's just give him a chance, let's just let him roll, let's not criticize? What would your response or reaction to that suggestion be?
I would like to think that there's a lot of manipulation as well. Remember, it's politics at play at the moment. So there's also another group that is trying to manipulate the system so that ED will fail, of which it's not fair to judge him within the 2 months that he has been in power.
He said, judge me from day one. And the Constitution gives every citizen the right to challenge him. And under Section 67. So people have the right to do so. Can we take away their constitutional right to challenge him just because we like him? If, you know, that's how people feel.
Definitely not, but let also have a positive criticism.
So maybe some people will say...
I'll give you an example.
Go ahead.
It is important that as Zimbabweans, whatever we say, it has a positive image to the outside world, so that they can also start to gain, to have faith in our country. Look at Nigerians, as bad as Nigeria it is, but Nigerians, they are proud of who they are, of which us as Zimbabweans, we are not doing that at the moment.
Right. And where are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling from South Africa, Fadzayi. Last week on the 18th of January, I came specifically to register. I'm going to go.
Well done.
My votes.
Well done.
Yes.
And so are you going to come back to Zimbabwe? Seeing as though you're feeling so positive about ED, are you going to migrate back to Zimbabwe?
I'm already starting
to make plans.
I want to do an investment in Zimbabwe and
Fantastic.
also this side. That's why I came specifically to register. That simple was only to come register. You have my vote, ED has my vote.
Oh,
my
great.
Vote is my secret at the moment.
Thank you so much. God bless you. We'll take our next caller. Thank you very much. So he's feeling positive about the dispensation. He says, well, as Zimbabweans, we need to be, you know, positive. We need to give this government a chance. We need to project a good international image. We'll take our next caller. Good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. How do you feel about ED?
I have never been confused in my entire life. I had that sense of optimism when everything started and there was the whole euphoria.
Yes.
At the time things changed over.
Right.
Yes.
And now?
And, you know, every Zimbabwean wants Zimbabwe to work out.
Yes.
But I just don't feel institutionally it has moved enough in terms of the things that really matter, Temo. I mean, you're a lawyer, maybe you could help us with that. But, you know, aligning the laws to the Constitution, the electoral reforms, I would have thought they are going to volunteer all of that. I thought by now we'd be seeing other political on ZBC, you know, but doing their campaigns and your own campaign on ZBC without having to fight for it. That's a
very interesting issue that you raise. A lot of people complain. Today the MDC Alliance had their rally in Masvingo. Not a word from ZBC, and yet Mai Mnangagwa will buy tomatoes on the side of the road, and yet, you know, it's awash on the public media. And the key thing with a public broadcaster is that every single member of the public contributes to its running by paying their license fee. So they've got an obligation legally, constitutionally, to be free and fair, to be open. They cannot be partisan and favor only one political party. So your point is absolutely valid. So, ma'am, you say you're confused. Does this mean that there's some positives, or do you think that, look, we're on a downward track?
I think we need to be fair in our judgment. A lot of people have got a lot invested in trying to pull down this dispensation because they are finishing off Mugabe's 5-year term. But I think as Zimbabweans, when we see my efforts are reached, well, let's appreciate.
So what things do you think, okay, what should we appreciate?
I like especially the Facebook page here, the president.
That he goes on Facebook.
I go and peep and spy and find out what he's doing. I see him trying to keep up with technologies.
Right.
I see the First Lady's efforts as well on my Facebook page. We haven't had that level of openness. The previous establishment was very aloof and untouchable. So access is a good thing. And
right.
he actually, you know, responds to some of the comments that are put on that platform. Right. I like that.
Okay. Right, so he's doing sort of well. I mean, there is a shift. We can't say it's exactly the same. Under Mugabe, we could not ever dream of him coming on Facebook. If anything, he wanted to shut the internet down and really clamp down. But we see Mnangagwa embracing the internet. But as you say, there are some things that still need to be worked on. So thank you very much for your contribution, ma'am. We're going to take our next caller. She makes an interesting observation about Mr. Mnangagwa's attempt to embrace social media. How do we feel about that? Are young people attracted by that? You know, are people, you know, following his hashtag as a result of that? Does it mean anything for our daily lives? Is he addressing the critical issues when he speaks on Facebook? Is he speaking to the cash shortages? Is he speaking to the public health crisis? Let's hear from our next caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you please turn off your Facebook Live, sir, so that we don't get the feedback in the background?
Sorry?
Can you please turn off your Facebook Live so that we don't get the feedback in the background?
All right.
Right. Mahere, makasunungu kataura zvenyu, you can go ahead.
I don't know from other people on the ground. They are saying there is no really change. And then opening a Facebook account. But will they it doesn't mean they don't need to be told what is needed. They can see. They should just start dealing with the problems on the ground. Then people will see. Opening a Facebook account, to me, it doesn't really mean a thing, honestly.
Okay, so sir, mimi kufona mchibva kupi? Okay, saka mimi munoshuvirawo kuzovhota here nyaya dzediaspora vote muri kudzionawo sei? Would you like to comment on that, seeing as though you're from the diaspora?
Why should people come? Think you have got a family of 2, 3. One ticket return cost 700 or so pounds. Then on we are voted and yet Panama facilities so good one going to vote
right.
It's a clear sign they are afraid of the people who are outside, because what made those people leave? They are homeless in the first place.
You were running
they created, and they were part and parcel of that mess.
I understand. So thank you very much, sir. The diaspora vote is very much on his mind. Good evening. Hello. Hello, ma'am. Can I just ask that you turn off your Facebook Live so that we don't get the feedback? Hello?
Hey, Fadzayi.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So my issue with recently seeing that we're on day 79,
Right.
I feel like ED hasn't done much progress because all we've been hearing is talk. Let's say in terms of cash shortages, it's still the same thing. People still keep waiting. And also recently I've got a friend that graduated and he's from Namibia.
Yes.
And he was actually given a job at the competition commission in Namibia.
I see. So what's your point there? Are you saying that he's not doing enough to address the jobs crisis? Hello? Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. Tariro Daphne on our Facebook comments has a comment to make. She says she's not prepared to give another 10 years of her life in the name of giving ED a chance because she's not getting any younger and she's lost so many productive years of her life doing absolutely nothing. She says, allow me to do the most while I'm still able-bodied. I have no more to give. I've given him more than 20 years. So that's a fair point. And I think that's a fair reaction to those who say, give ED time. Well, how much time do we have? And how much time has been taken away from us? There's no running away from the fact that he was a strong participant in the last dispensation. So we'll take our next caller. Hello? Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Inini problem yandinayo nawo mnanga kwanje kuti vana obeti mupofu vakakwanisa kunge vachidzoswa mucabinet. Masoldiers tiri kunzwa kuti vari kungoramba vachiita zvinhu zvavaikwanisa kuita, and actually the reality is we might have vice president varipo kuti vatoita president. So 37 years vasina zvinhu zvavaikwanisa.
Okay, unfortunately we lost that caller, but what the point he's making is that again, he doesn't feel like the new dispensation is very new at all. He's a bit reticent and he's concerned about the vice president. It would seem he didn't get to elaborate on that. We'll take our next caller. Good evening.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, you're speaking to Lamek.
Lamek, how are you?
Lamek is good.
Good. Lamek, go ahead. How do you feel about President ED? Vari kugona here? Vari kuporonga? Pane zvashandukawo here? Kana kuti zvimwe chete zvanga zvingoripo zvaMugabe izvozvo?
Mr. ED, I'm not on so I at the moment.
Kana one.
My opinion is nothing has actually changed. And we are not supposed to give this guy another chance.
Right.
This guy has been into the ruling party since independence, and he was one of our vice presidents, and sometimes he acted as the president, and nothing has shown. PSFI says about it, we can give him another hope.
Manje ivo zvavari kutaura kuti aiwa inini ndanga ndisiri panyanga mazuva ivawo ezvinezvi ndini ndaincharge saka chimbondikaiwo mukana. Do you think that's not good enough?
That's not good enough. Since the 100 days in office, apana is just a talk and if he is given another chance, that's another Mugabe coming. Apana, there's nothing that is going to change.
Same Chiti, he's another Mugabe. And if I British, Mugabe, would you still say Kuti Vangori is the same? Even First Lady wavo varikuti wo ndukumanya manya wo handisi kugona wo here. Would you say that's exactly the same? Tingati First Lady vangwaripo my Grace na my Auxilia zvakangofanana gejke. Would you say that?
You know, this clutter of things that is being done by the First Ladies, for me, it doesn't change much. But we have ministers responsible in those ministries. Wherever they visit, like I don't think they can actually influence much. The First Lady cannot influence much things that happens in the ministries. Because the ministries, the people who are there with the full portfolios, who know what is required.
Right. Thank you very much for your contribution, sir. Just to pick up on a comment that was made by our earlier caller who indicated that although ED speaks tough on corruption, his conduct actually shows that he's retained the likes of Obert Mpofu, and that does not suggest true change. Now, would we say that, you know, he's protecting some of the supposed sacred cows and he's not going tough enough on corruption? What do we feel about that? Yes, sir, good evening.
Hello.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. Hello.
Good evening, Fadzayi.
Yes, go ahead.
I feel like ED has been in office for the past 79 days, but
Correct.
there isn't much visible change that I've seen. There's still the same long bank queues and people in hospital, there's still no medication.
Right.
For instance, I came across a post on Facebook by one of the hospital administrators where she was like, the thing is, we've got Amai coming to hospital, all of a sudden things are painted as okay. But in reality, a day after when she leaves, things are still the same.
They go back to normal.
To the cabinet that he put in place. There's not much change altogether. It's the same people. The Minister of Finance is still the same. Like there was a general outcry that we don't want the same Minister of Finance in terms of like he introduced bond cards and we're suffering, but there wasn't much done. He didn't even address it. Those are the same things. We're seeing the same faces. What is the new thing that they're gonna do? There isn't much for me personally. I don't feel like there's much. Oh, we have had the talks and everything. He's gone to international forums and we have had that there's money in circulation that he got from investors. But up to now, I haven't seen the money in circulation or anything better being done. We've got people still in the street selling money, and you know we're still feeling the same struggles every day.
So, what would you like to see? What would you like to see change? What would you like ED to address as a matter of urgency? What would you say the priorities are?
For me, even representation in parliament, even in the cabinet, we need new young people. Like people who understand our struggles. How can a 60-year-old plus youth minister understand that like maybe students in varsities, they need condoms? She's not from that generation. She cannot address such issues. Let's talk about women representation. How many women are even in parliament at the moment? That's something that he should be able to stand for. He can't, and we can't have the same faces. And also there's an issue that I feel he should be addressed, that it's only people that have been gone to war that can rule Zimbabwe. That itself is disturbing for me. It's those things that we need to change. For instance, I've got a friend that I'm graduating with from Namibia. Do you know the sad part? We do the same program, but at the moment he's employed by the competition commissioner in Namibia. A job that I can only dream of in Zimbabwe because it's only 60 plus old that can get, but we are going to school for what?
I understand.
There's no space for young people in Zimbabwe.
So you'd like ED, thank you very much for that contribution. She'd like ED to create more space for younger people. She'd like to see a more competent cabinet, which has got more younger people, more women in cabinet and in parliament. She says we keep seeing the same faces, and it's only the people who've gone to war who seem to be allowed to be given positions of power, which I think is a fair comment to make. You know, and this takes us to the point that was raised by another caller, the militarization of Zimbabwe. Do we want it to be the case that you can only be a retired brigadier or a retired army general in order for you to get some sort of position? Now, going to the Facebook comments, Simon says, prices couldn't just fall overnight. Businesses with stock were costed high and were paid for at inflated prices. Force prices down, then businesses go broke. Two-edged sword. There was too much dirty water in the bath just to throw the baby out with the bath water. It simply takes time to sort things out. So he believes that ED must be given more time. Yes, we'll go onto our next caller. Hello.
Hello, Fadzayi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Great, thank you. Who am I speaking to?
I'm Munya. I'm calling from South Africa.
Munya, tell us your thoughts. You're in South Africa. Are you going to come back now that ED is president of Zimbabwe?
I'm back, but there are a few things that worry me so far before planning to come back.
Yes.
The first being the issue of, I can see he's trying his hard to engage with younger audience.
Yes.
But the story is always the same. They are telling us to
innovate, come up with new business ideas and all that. And that's not even the starting point.
What's the starting point?
Sorry?
What's the starting point?
For us to have a conversation that actually makes sense to the youth is create a space where youth are actually heard, representation in parliament, ministries that actually are approachable by young people so that we can engage with those ministries. Right now, if you tell most people that people who want to engage in something about information or IT to be precise, they can't even approach Superman Wanted.
Why can't they approach him?
It's
Banochkisa.
The change that's happening on the top level hasn't trickled down to the lower levels yet.
Right.
You find that these ministers, the reason why people complain about these ministers who are appointed now is they're not doing anything that shows that they have changed their work routine or their principles regarding to how they deal with the public.
Right, so it's business as usual amongst the ministers themselves. And he also raises a very important point about how the youth need to be heard. But the question that I would pose at the same time is, are the youth doing enough to engage with the process, or are we filled with apathy? Don't we as young people need to show a bit more seriousness, a bit more organization in order for us to be taken seriously and for us to also take the system on in a very serious way? Now we've got Angela Natsai, who says on Facebook that we need to realize that no investment is going to happen now. ED is building a foundation to solving the current problems by engaging with the West. The West said they'll only invest if elections are free and fair, which takes us to the next issue. Does it look like the election is going to be free and fair? Is there, to use that hackneyed term, a level playing field? Yes, good evening. Hello?
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you can go ahead. We seem to be having difficulty with that line. Just coming back to elections, we do seem to have a very real problem at the moment with voter intimidation, problems with whether or not the voters' roll will be accessed, which are all things that we'd hope that the ministers working under ED will deal with. Right, we'll take our next caller. Good evening, ma'am. Hello?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Kindly go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, yes, you've been talking about the youth a lot lately.
Yes.
And I, as a young person, now actually see a chance. Because there's a debate about change, and I think the removal of Mugabe, who was a constant factor in a lot of Zimbabwe's suffering, is a huge change.
Right.
And yes, we still have the same government. And the question is, if there's change, they have changed, but how much so? Like, the question I have is, how authentic is this? Is it for approval ratings? Is ED and the First Lady, are they doing this for the votes? If they win the election, what will they do after that? Will they begin rebuilding the same tactics, the way of running government as Mugabe, or are they actually working on moving us forward? I think I'm maybe one of the youngest callers on this live, but I really believe that change is going to happen, but it's not going to happen all at once. And so we should take the little steps as they come.
Right. So would you, in your opinion, would you say that ED is sincere, or do you have a sense that he's going to change as soon as he's elected, if he's elected in? Remember, nothing is certain at this stage. I mean, who knows? You know, we might have a superstar opposition presidential candidate who'll get onto the scene and move and shake. Nothing is certain, as November 2017 showed us. But assuming he does win, do you think he's sincere about change in Zimbabwe?
Yes, that's what the question is. Like, growing up, I would see a lot of ministers. They got big fancy cars, and all I see is that's someone's education, that's someone's relief, that's something. And so that's thinking. They bought Chiefs cars. There's still the conflation. There's still a mixing of the ruling party is not the entire government. The ruling party, yes, although it does maintain most of the seats in government, like the other parties cannot take military tanks to get their supporters to a rally.
Right.
And so it's not fair. So that mentality of ZANU-PF is the only party, the only ruling party, it's hard to get a platform for everyone to be included in these views and the say of what happens in our country. Because at the end of the day, the point of the government is to serve the people. And so if the people are not being heard, and it's just one party with one line of thinking ruling, then we still have the same problems, and it will be difficult for Zimbabwe to move forward.
Thank you so much for your contribution. She raises an important issue of the conflation of the state and the party. Is ED doing well because he's got the party machinery at his disposal? Is that giving him an unfair advantage here? She also raised the question of the culture of buying cars. ED seems to have continued on with the culture of buying cars for people. Now we've got 5 minutes left, so we're going to take one more caller and then wrap up. Hello? Hello? Oh, we seem to have lost that caller. I think we've got time just for one more caller and then we'll close. Hello?
Hello?
That's a caller we've already taken, so we'll give another caller a chance, if it's okay. Hello? Okay, we've lost that caller. We'll go back to our Facebook comments and just see what the sentiment there is. Christopher says, Hakuna Chinonzi ED in second chance. He doesn't like the old man. We won't use the word that he used. Someone says so much bureaucracy and red tape. Someone else is clamoring again for the diaspora vote. Someone says different side of the same coin, shame. Someone else says they don't like MDC, although that's not the subject today. Someone is suggesting that more young people need to run. Priscilla says ED is still protecting most of the old criminals, and understandably so, because they're all tied in the same rot. He can never take the hard line that's required to clean up the mess. He's not come forth to really speak and address the issues that affect the majority. Right, with that thought in mind, we'll take our last caller. Good evening.
Chloe,
Yes, go ahead. Okay, that's a very bad line. We'll hope that he calls again. He seems to have an interesting point to make there. But for now, we'll go back to our Facebook comments. People are complaining about the bureaucracy. Someone is saying no to grace. Someone is saying that we need to be realistic about the expectations of ED and any new government for that matter, whether it's MDC, ZANU-PF, NPP or APA. There's no magic wand to get rid of 37 years of damage. Hello? Hello?
Hello, hi.
Yes, go ahead.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. So just go ahead with your contribution. How do you think ED is faring?
I believe in Mnangagwa.
Right. You believe in Mnangagwa. Could you just speak a bit more to that?
Yeah, I believe he's got a good plan and a strategy to consistently accomplish his goals.
Right. And are you satisfied with the progress that he's made so far? And if so, why?
Yeah, for now I'm very satisfied.
And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from South Africa.
And given that you're so satisfied, is there any reason why you haven't moved back to Zimbabwe yet? Or is that something that's in the pipeline?
I've already started taking up my bags.
Wow. And could you just tell us why ED satisfies you and why you're so supportive of his new government? What is your opinion?
I see that President Mnangagwa has got that driving force to change the nation. He's got the heart to change the nation and the people of Zimbabwe.
Right. And does his past bother you at all?
I believe that if we give him time, Zimbabwe will change.
Right. And is there anything in his track record that would make you a little bit anxious?
No, this is not the time to look at the past.
So you'd rather forget the past?
Yeah, everybody's got a bad past. You have a bad past, I have a bad past.
Well, not everybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. So on that note, we're going to just wrap up. We're going to wrap up the show on that last note, where one of our callers has just indicated his very strong support for President Mnangagwa. He's indicated that, look, I believe he's got a plan for change. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to go into why he believes that ED is so iconic. Anyway, let's continue with this conversation. It's very important for us as young people, as old people, as Zimbabweans, as we take the country forward, to continue to have conversations and to continue to monitor our government, to make sure we keep them accountable, to make sure that they continue to fight poverty, injustice, and corruption. We don't want those to factor in our country. We want a Zimbabwe that's filled with freedom, fairness, and opportunity. And we must do everything we can as young people, as old people, as politicians, to make sure that that's done. So the final thing we're going to end off with is a little advert for the Be the Change campaign. I need someone to be my Valentine. In fact, I need 6 people. So please watch the advert that's probably on your screen at the moment. We need you to donate to the campaign. Yesterday we had a fantastic day out in Avondale, which is in Ward 7, where we met a number of constituents and sold them our dream of winning Mount Pleasant for change. We've got lion-sized initiatives, and we need your support in order to make them a reality. So please donate to the Be the Change campaign. The WhatsApp number, the EcoCash number, I beg your pardon, to donate to is 0777227237. So thank you very much for joining us on this call-in show, and we look forward to conversing with you in the future. Please be sure to like our Facebook page, which is Fadzayi Mahere, the political campaign page, and make sure you follow all our other initiatives. Thank you so much, and let's keep engaged, and let's keep trying to push for a transformed Zimbabwe. Good evening, and thank you.